My name is Eamon Pelaez, and we will be learning about situational limitations of aggressive behavior. A person's level of aggression can vary depending on the context of the situation. Aggressive behavior becomes more likely once an individual feels a rejection because they're denied basic needs. Acceptance from others is important because it allows other people to have control over their relationships. It also gives people the feeling of self-worth, and it gives people the feeling of being belonged and connected with other people. Social exclusion is also important, and that can trigger aggressive behavior. Social exclusion is defined as when individuals are kept away from one another. Research has even shown that social exclusion negatively affects people, and it can even negatively affect people if it's done by strangers. People typically direct their anger towards what is affecting them or towards an outside source. In the cyberball game, developed by Williams and other researchers, one participant wasn't included in a ball passing game, while two other people were actively playing. The researchers then created a computer version of this game, and in the results, they found that people became angry when they weren't involved. Also, in another research done by Tweng and other researchers, in their Life Alone experiment, people were told that they were going to live a lonely life, and this was based on their personality test scores. And in their results, they also showed that more aggression was present towards the experimenter than the person that wasn't socially excluded. Researchers also found that social exclusion, it reduces an individual's self-esteem. Aggression overall is more present when people don't have control over a situation, and also when something occurs unexpectedly. People who are rejected become angry and aggressive, and they attempt to behave in a more desirable way in order to have that feeling of being included. People also experience a reflective or an automatic response of pain because of the rejection that they feel. And people still even express a negative response even if the effect of the exclusion is small. Alcohol also plays a very important role in situational aggression. Alcohol can actually sustain violent crime and domestic violence. People can become more aggressive when they're intoxicated in some situations, but not in all of them. Alcohol is present in group violence, and it's also common on college campuses. People are typically intoxicated whenever they commit any crimes or any violations. With that research, the cause of aggressive behavior, it can be because of a third variable, which includes frustration towards another person, the lack of control, even provocation, and a whole bunch of other things. Alcohol can even affect aggressive behavior by changing the normal functions of the body. And simply knowing that a person is under the influence, that can even change their behavior because they may use that as an excuse and think that their actions are as a result of them being intoxicated. Aggressive cues can even trigger aggressive behavior without its consumption. People can become aggressive without consuming alcohol. And some researchers found that when one individual becomes intoxicated, another individual can also express similar traits, even though the second person didn't consume any alcohol. Not only that, alcohol can also lower the threshold for engaging in aggressive behavior. Provocation is a moderator between alcohol and aggression, and researchers found that people who are sober are more aware of restrictions around them. And this makes sense, and it explains why people are less likely to be involved in aggression when they're provoked. But if people are not provoked, then they most likely won't become aggressive even though they're under the influence. When frustration is present, people are more likely to become aggressive because they can't reach a goal, because they're frustrated that they're being stopped from it. If frustration isn't present, then an individual is more likely to show less aggression as well. And people who show high self-focused attention can also show less aggressive behavior because they'll concentrate more on their actions since they know that they consumed alcohol, and this overall results in a better behavior. But without aggression cues present, people will be less likely to relate it to aggressive behavior. Aside from alcohol consumption, temperature and other environmental stressors also contribute to situational aggression. Researchers found that uncomfortably high temperatures increases the likelihood of becoming aggressive. Researchers also found that crime is more present in hotter climates than in cooler ones. And regional differences can also be affected by unemployment rate, by the educational background, by a person's culture, and other different factors. But also by studying the seasons over time, researchers were able to find that crime is higher in the summer than in the winter. But this doesn't necessarily mean that when it's hotter, people are going to simply act more violent. A lot of critics even argue that because it's hotter, more people go outside and enjoy the weather, and then that is what can lead to an increase of aggression. Since more people are out interacting and at the same time, at the same location, then that increases the likelihood for people, to I guess just to interact with one another. So it may not necessarily be that a higher temperature that alone irritates people. It's other factors. But overall, research has shown that heat is related to higher aggression levels, even when it was tested in a laboratory environment. It was also found that people are more likely to become relieved from their discomfort when they're under cooler conditions than when they're in hotter conditions. Aside from heat, other stressors also affect aggression, like crowding, noise, air pollution. So with crowding, people feel as though they're constrained, and they feel that others are invading their personal space. So with that said, people normally feel discomfort when they're being invaded. The decrease in personal space overall increases the aggressive behavior. Any loud noises also triggers a person to feel frustrated, and it can also increase aggression once people are exposed to violent cues. So air pollution also increases hostility because unpleasant smells usually makes people uncomfortable, and it usually causes people to lash out at one another. This was found in some cigarette studies that people typically act this way when they're around unpleasant smells. With situational aggression, it pretty much varies from one instance to another. This research it gives us more knowledge on aggression and how it can vary from one situation to the next. There are many factors that do influence aggression. Social exclusion is very important. It tells us that people pretty much don't like to be separated from others, and whenever they are, they feel hostility and they feel as though they want to interact, and they feel frustration when they're restricted from doing so. Alcohol also plays a very, very important role in situational aggression. It can either cause people to become more aggressive, or it can even reduce it. With alcohol, people can kind of blame their actions on their alcohol consumption, whether they know they consumed it or not. Um, Alcohol is typically even present in group violence like gangs, and even on college campuses, if whether pretty much most instances that alcohol is involved in, aggression is present as well. But there also have been studies that shown that aggression lowers the likelihood of people engaging in aggressive behavior. People are just generally more aware of what's going on around them, so people want to be more careful of their actions. They want to be careful of what they say and what they don't say. But also there's mediators and moderators that affect aggression, like frustration. If a person is frustrated, they're most likely to become aggressive. But if there's a way that they can relieve that frustration, then they're less inclined to become frustrated. Again, it just depends on what the situation is. And again, temperature, it does play a role in it does play a situational role in aggression, but again, it depends. So a lot of research has shown that there is more aggression during the summer or in regions that are hotter than in the cooler ones or in the cooler seasons. But it doesn't always mean that heat equals to a higher increase in aggression. It can be that more people are interacting with one another, so more people, but they can bump into each other. It's just the likelihood of quote unquote, more aggressive people out, out and about. So it all varies, again, from one situation to the next. But even when tested in the lab setting, it was found that still, under a controlled setting, that still aggression is higher in hotter climates than in colder ones, and that people are more easily able to be relieved from their discomfort when they're in colder climates than in hotter ones. There's lastly other stressors that can increase aggression. Again, that's crowding, noise, and air pollution. These factors typically make people feel uncomfortable. Crowding makes people feel as though others are invading their personal space. That can annoy some people. If it's too loud, that also can irritate people and cause people to become more aggressive. And then air pollution, whenever there's a smell that's not pleasant to a person, that also can increase the likelihood of a person becoming aggressive. And overall, this research again has shown us that again, not only can aggression vary from one situation to the next, but we can even use this information that we already know, and then we can conduct more research on and learn more about how these factors, how they can change from one instance to the other. We can even study this to have a better understanding on human emotion and about what stresses people. Not only that, I was thinking that it's even important to link this to crime and to link this to how we can even reduce crime rate, reduce aggression. Because if we continue to study this, then we can, and not only are we increasing our knowledge on aggression, we can see how we can reduce it from one instance to the next, and how we can maybe even prevent it. Because although aggression and human emotion is inevitable, we can try to find ways to make daily life easier, and then how we can even reduce crime rate. For instance, if we know that that alcohol consumption, if that is linked to higher aggression levels, then maybe we can find ways to help people either with alcohol addiction, or just find different ways on how to reduce aggression from different situations. And then even in the summer, if it is true that the hot climate that it causes people to become more aggressive, then maybe we can keep an eye out more during hotter climates or in regions that are hotter. And maybe we can do more preventative things in order to prevent any aggression to occur in the future. But aggression does depend on one situation to the next. It does vary from different instances. And it's very important to continue to study the different levels of aggression and how it can affect a person.